Overcoming Absent-Mindedness, Side 1. Have you ever misplaced your keys or rushed to the store only to get there and forget what it was you're going to buy? Do you sometimes wonder if you're losing your mind because you can't remember silly little things? At the age of 80, 32% of all Americans are classified as senile because of memory loss. Obviously, absent-mindedness is not an unusual condition. Studies show that the average person suffers some form of memory loss at least 4 times each week. As Peter Kugasian said, absent-mindedness is aggravating and it's time-consuming. If you've ever experienced a loss of memory, you can understand just how aggravating and time-consuming it is. But absent-mindedness isn't necessarily a part of life. There is a way to cure it. The first step to curing this condition is to realize that you don't have a bad memory. Just because you forget where you put your keys doesn't mean you're losing your memory. It simply means you're not storing things in your memory so that they can be retrieved easily. Your mind is like a computer. It stores more ideas, names, numbers, and concepts than you realize. But like a computer, those facts have to be stored properly, or they're difficult to retrieve. If you've ever used a computer, you realize it is just as aggravating when you can't find a file you know is somewhere on the disk. Now that you're convinced that you don't necessarily have a bad memory, the next step is to learn and apply the necessary techniques which will help you effectively store and retrieve almost any information. This course is designed to help you learn how to use certain mnemonic devices to overcome absent-mindedness. One of the mnemonic techniques you will use is linking. You may already be familiar with this method from the Supermemory course. To help you overcome your absent-mindedness, you will simply use a link to connect objects or to associate one object with another. The memory tool used in this linking process is your imagination. Don't be afraid to use your imagination. It's good for you and can be lots of fun. Besides, if you don't use your imagination, the techniques will never work. Now let's discuss 7 common problems of absent-mindedness. 1. Remembering where you place objects. 2. Remembering items you need to buy. 3. Turning off your car lights. 4. Taking things with you. 5. Remembering lists. 6. Remembering appointments. And 7. Remembering important dates. It is a known fact that everybody has misplaced something somewhere at some time, and we all know how frustrating and time-consuming this is. You would probably enjoy knowing how to remember where you place objects so you won't spend all your time looking for misplaced keys, glasses, and notes. Well, it can be done. All it takes is the application of a few basic mnemonic techniques. If you can do this, you will never misplace your keys, wallet, or glasses again. In order to remember where you place objects, you will need to use a little imagination and the simple mnemonic technique known as linking. Each time you set something down, consciously link the object to the place where you put it. Simply make an association in your mind between the object and the place. For example, if you set your glasses down on the kitchen counter, imagine your glasses magnified to the point that they are as big as Coke bottles. Now picture someone picking up your glasses and pouring Coke from the refrigerator into them. Next time you go to look for your glasses, this image will appear, and you will remember that you placed them on the kitchen counter near the refrigerator. Can you believe it is that easy to remember where you place things? It is, but it gets even easier with practice. You should practice this technique each time you set something down, and after a few weeks, you will begin to notice something unusual. You will be aware of objects as you pick them up and put them down. If you are aware of putting something down, you will remember where you placed it when you go to use it again. You will spend less time searching for objects and more time doing things you enjoy. How many times have you gone to the grocery store to pick up an item, but by the time you got there, you couldn't remember what it was you needed? It is common for people to forget items they need to buy. Fortunately, there's a simple mnemonic technique you can use to eliminate this problem. Once again, applying your imagination is the main key to this technique. Imagine you are going to the store to pick up a few things. As you are driving, you remember that you really need some toothpaste. Obviously, you can't reach over and write this item on your list. Instead, you're going to have to remember it. And in order to remember it, you will need to come up with some ridiculous imagery to really lock it in. Imagine that a tube of toothpaste is stuck in your car door, and it has made a terrible mess because the pressure of the door has caused toothpaste to ooze out of the tube, and it has covered the inside of your car. Once you get into the store and look at your list, you will remember there was something else you needed to pick up. You remembered this item on the way to the store as you were driving in your car. Suddenly, you'll picture the tube of toothpaste oozing from the door, and you'll remember that this is the item you need. If that method seems a bit too absurd, try using the LOSI system to remember your shopping list. Decide what you need to buy at the store, then take a mental tour through the house when you're still home. As you move through the house, link the items on your list to items in the house. When you arrive at the store, take a mental walk through your home and remember that each object represents something on your list. When you're done, take a quick tour of the house to make sure you haven't forgotten anything. The LOSI system is a great method for use for remembering items. But don't stay in one room. Use your LOSI to remember which items you need for each room. Perhaps you need a few toiletries. Go through your bathroom LOSI. Then go on to your laundry room, kitchen, and even the garage. Link each item from that particular room to a LOSI, and then when you get to the grocery store, go through each room in your house. Not only will you remember your food list, but you will remember things you need to buy for the bathroom, laundry room, and garage. You can also link the items on your list with the link system. You link each item to the next item, rather than linking it to your LOSI. It is helpful if you know the layout of the local grocery store and can link the objects together section by section. Now you have 4 different methods for remembering shopping lists. Pick the one which will work best for you, and never again will you forget an item on your list. There's nothing worse than coming out of your car and finding your headlights on. Before you even get in the car, you know the battery is dead. But with the help of your own imagination, you can solve this problem by remembering to turn off your headlights. Again, it is important that you use your imagination. By applying your imagination, you can come up with several scenarios to help you remember to turn off your lights. Once you get in your car and turn on the lights, begin using your imagination. Imagine that your key is wired to the headlights. Attached to the headlights is a bomb just waiting to explode. If you turn off the headlights before you turn off the car, the bomb will be diffused. However, if you forget to turn off the headlights, the bomb will explode when you take the key out of the ignition. Go over this synopsis in your mind as you drive down the street. If you concentrate on the image, it will help you remember to turn off your headlights before turning off your car. Use your imagination to come up with a scenario of your own, one that will help you remember to turn off the lights. If you will imagine the same story each time you get in the car, it will become habit, and you will never forget to turn off the headlights again. Turn the tape over now, and we'll continue on side 2. Overcoming Absent-Mindedness, side 2. In this day and age, it is important to lock your house and car doors. Most people make a habit of always locking their doors, but sometimes it becomes such a routine act that you are only slightly aware you are doing it. In order to make sure you lock up and to make sure you remember whether you did or not, you need to change this routine by adding an unusual element to the process. Once again, you will need to apply your imagination. Next time you lock the door, imagine yourself spraying shaving cream into the keyhole or stuffing something into it. This will make the action unusual, and you are more likely to remember having done the act. Each time you lock up, imagine a different synopsis so that as you think back to remember whether you locked up or not, you can picture the new image. If the image you used yesterday comes to mind, then obviously you forgot to lock up today. Do you have a hard time remembering to bring things with you? Perhaps you need to return something you borrowed from a friend, but each time you go for a visit to that friend, you forget to bring the borrowed object with you. Time and time again you forget it, and your friend is beginning to wonder if you're ever going to return it. You need a good way to remember items that you always seem to forget. This course will provide you with 2 good ways to do this. You can choose the one that works best for you. It is important to mentally link the object to something that will remind you of it as you leave. One object you could link to is the front door. Imagine the object you need to take with you is somehow connected to the door, or is the door. The more unrealistic your image is, the less likely you are to forget it. If you will lock this image in your mind, the next time you leave your house and grab the front door, you will remember the object and take it with you. Perhaps it would be better for you to link the object to your car. This is a lot like linking the object to the door, only you connect the item to your car instead. Remember to create a very absurd image so you won't forget it. This mental picture should help you remember to bring the object with you. It is best to use something you will definitely run into, such as the front door or car, in order to trigger your memory as you leave. It seems like the 80s were characterized by people running to appointments and keeping themselves busy. The 90s will be much the same. In this day and age, everybody is bombarded by deadlines, appointments, and things to do. How do they get it all accomplished? It's simple. People live by their to-do lists. Unfortunately, compiling a list is a very effective way to remember things that need to be done. But many times, lists on paper get lost or left at home. When this happens, important things may be forgotten. However, if you can make a mental note of your list, it will always be with you. Plus, you can easily review it in your mind to be sure you accomplished everything. So with a memorized list, you are more likely to accomplish everything you needed to. The Supermemory course explains 2 ways to remember lists. One is the LOCI system, the other is the link system. The LOCI system works well for short lists, but if you have a longer list, you might want to use the link system. In this system, you link each item to the next, instead of linking each item to your LOCI. This system tends to be easier to memorize and recall than the LOCI system. If you are unsure how to use these systems, you may need to review the detailed instructions in the Supermemory course. Once you are familiar with the LOCI and the link systems, it is important that you get into a daily habit of making a mental list of the things you need to do that day. The more you apply these methods, the easier they become. Soon you will be able to make a mental list of things to do, and you will accomplish everything on that list. There's nothing more embarrassing than forgetting an appointment. You are inconvenienced. The other person is inconvenienced, and everyone is upset. Luckily, you can use memory techniques to remember your appointments, and you will never have to miss another engagement again. If you are the type of person that makes a daily list of things to do, simply include your appointments on this list. If you prefer to keep a separate system for schedules, you can use mnemonic techniques to do this as well. You could use the linking system to set up a scheduling system for each week. Find an object for each day of the week and use the memory power system to represent the time of day. Then link the day to the hour and link the hour to the appointment. You will need to use your imagination and the mnemonic techniques we've discussed in order to find the system that works for you. Important dates are also commonly forgotten until days later when you realize you forgot a birthday, anniversary, or wedding. This is a terrible feeling, but there's a way to overcome this problem. Begin using mnemonic techniques to remember dates. You will no longer have the common problem of forgetting birthdays, anniversaries, or other important dates. The Supermemory system includes a list of numbers from 0 to 99 with objects to represent each number. To lock important dates in your mind, you will need to use this system. Begin by converting the date into a string of numbers, then convert the numbers into objects and link the objects together. If it is a birthday or anniversary, be sure you fit the person into your mental image. Link the person's name to the first number represented in the list and finish linking the list. If your images are clear and personal, you should remember them easily. You can do the same thing by using the PEG system. Instead of linking objects to the numbers, each number is represented by a letter. Put these letters together and form a word. Then use this word to form an image in your mind and link the person involved to the picture. If you are able to visualize something, it is easier to remember. Use your imagination to come up with outrageous images you'll never forget. Using these systems will help you remember birthdays, anniversaries, or any important date you need. Be sure to review the dates occasionally so they don't slip into a remote corner of your memory. Never again will you be embarrassed because you forgot an important date. Hopefully this course has provided you with some techniques to help you overcome common problems of absent-mindedness. If you have difficulty remembering things not covered in this course, use your imagination and the tools you've learned to solve the memory lapse yourself. Although these techniques are quite basic, it is important that you put a lot of effort and concentration into using them. Without concentrating on the mental images you create, they will quickly disappear into the dusty corners of your mind and never be found. Dedicate yourself to enhancing your memory with effort and concentration, and you will benefit from it. Use a chart to begin analyzing your absent-mindedness. For 2 weeks, record things you forgot or misplaced. Write down each time you misplaced your keys and how long it took to find them. Write down things you forgot to do that day. Perhaps you forgot to run an errand, or you forgot to pick up something at the grocery store. Write down everything you forgot during the day, from the smallest and most simple object to the biggest and most time-consuming. After 2 weeks, look at the chart and decide where your recall is weakest and begin working towards keeping those memory lapses filled. Hopefully, at the end of 2 weeks, you will notice an improvement in your absent-mindedness. It shouldn't take you as long to find something you misplaced, and you shouldn't be forgetting quite as much every day. Soon you will realize you were never losing your mind, you just weren't storing things properly in your mind's computer.